Do you remember being read a bedtime story? Or more recently, do you remember reading to your children or grandchildren at bedtime? There are many books in the Bible stories for bedtime genre, and you can probably guess a few of the most popular stories. Jesus walks on water, the miracle at Cana, Jesus cures the lame or lets the blind man see. Predictably, this gospel from Matthew that we just heard isn't ever in one of those bedtime stories. These 7 woe statements might be Jesus' harshest words in all the Gospels. Woes are the opposite of blessings or beatitudes. They pronounce grief and disaster. Night, night, snakes. Sleep tight, you brood of vipers. The Pharisees, who were followers of Jesus, were the targets of Jesus' scolding. They appeared saintly and holy, but were full of greed and corruption. They did try to live perfect lives, at least on the outside. They devised over 100 persnickety rules covering every aspect of human behavior. They had a multi-stage method for straining gnats out of their drinking water. The more stages, the better, in my opinion. They washed their hands in exact ways with carefully measured quantities of water for an exact number of seconds. Phylacteries are small leather boxes containing miniature Old Testament scrolls. These small boxes were worn on the forehead and on the arms in time of prayer. Those Pharisees wore big ones all the time. These harsh, biting words of Jesus, the 7 woes, denouncing this hypocritical behavior, are set in the middle of chapter 23 of Matthew, but 2 examples of Jesus' caring and more delicate and loving instructions begin and end the chapter. Early on, Jesus is asked, "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment?" And his answer will be familiar to some of you who grew up with Rite One. Hear what our Lord Jesus Christ saith, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets." And a few verses forward, after Jesus had vented the 7 woes, Jesus' tone changes dramatically as he mourns for Jerusalem. A lament with wistfulness, but also with the passion of a mother. "How often have I desired to gather your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings." And those verses instructing us to love God and our neighbor, and the promise that God will protect us like a hen under her wings, is an excellent bedtime story.